I want you to try and understand all the different moving parts of an auction, and to be able to be aware of everything that's going on and still be able to understand it and think through each situation is actually an art in itself. And it's not easy, and it can only come through time, reflection and experience. In essence, you've got a 4-week campaign and you're going to be driving down this road. It's going to be foggy. And what I want you guys to do, I want you to be comfortable with that. You're going to plod your way through. You're not going to know exactly where you're going, but you know where the destination is. And what I find a lot of the times, a lot of people will give up because it remains foggy for a long time. And what happens when it feels foggy is you're uncomfortable, yeah? So that uncomfortability, you're going to feel that for your first 30 auctions. So what I want to do is, I want to have a look at some of the key elements in becoming the leading auction agent in your area. I talk about 2 elements here, and I talk about speed and I talk about understanding. I think the understanding part, there is a psychology behind an auction. There's also the speed at which we get the information to the client. Because what we're doing over these first 4 weeks, we're actually trying to give them an abundance of information to make a really intelligent decision. Auctions aren't about getting it sold on the day per se, but it's helping your client making an informed and intelligent decision where they condense almost 8 to 12 weeks of information into 4 weeks to say, yes, on this day, that is a good offer on my property and that allows me to move forward with my life. Now that, when you can provide that with absolute confidence, that's a game changer. This is about providing intelligence, high-level market knowledge in order to help a consumer make really good decisions, both on the buyer and on the seller side. If there's one thing that you can lift your auctions and you can develop auctions as part of your skill set, the better your buyer qualification, the better your buyer work, and how you link that to your vendor management is just so critical here. All right? We talk about speed of information, the quality of information, and the passing and transfer of knowledge to your clients. This is the game. We're going to spend 3 to 4 weeks playing in that space, and they are linked. They are linked. You then move through, of course, these are just the simple format. Then we move through to the reserve set meeting, where we've taken the 4 weeks of information. We're going to sit down and make an educated decision about where we need to sell the property. If you're getting surprises 48 hours out, well, we probably haven't done the work. And then, of course, the all-important, the culmination at the end of the 4 weeks is the auction call and the execution. What I want you to think about is, in 4 weeks' time, I want to put a market in front of a seller. That's my sole responsibility and my sole focus. I want to put a market in front of the seller in 4 weeks' time. You need to be mindful. So what we do is what we're going to get you to do is check in with yourself that as you move through an auction campaign, if fear sets in, right, it's actually natural. It's going to happen, but be very careful of what the language comes out of our mouth then when fear is part of it. All right? What we tend to do, again, we try and push things onto our vendors which aren't there, because it's our own internal fear of dealing with auction day. All right? And when you can deal with that and be comfortable around it and be able to lay the landscape out on the table for a vendor, that helps them make better decisions than telling them what they should be doing out of fear for you. You want to put a market in front of a seller on a set date. We're working towards, the 27th of May, the 25th of May at 2 p.m, 3 p.m. That's what we're working towards. The focus is not trying to sell the property, but rather to gather bidders on the day. If you go around trying to find the buyer, as opposed to trying to gather bidders and set bidders up for the day, it's going to fall down. It's a mindset shift. Because what happens in private treaty, trying to sell the property, aren't we? Whereas auction, we're setting the buyers up towards the day. It's a real mindset shift. So we really need to focus and check in with ourselves that we know exactly where we're going. And if we start to falter, bring ourselves back in. You actually have to be crystal clear, absolute clarity around what your role is and what you're looking to achieve. The moment that leaves you and you don't have the activity, you start to blame the process, or the vendor does. You need to be very, very clear around what you're going to achieve. Don't focus on the result. Focus around your behaviour and your actions and what you're doing throughout the campaign And again, particularly around your buyer work and your vendor management, the consumer understands that if you tell them price guide 900, that means on your agency agreement it's 900 or 990. So they appreciate the transparency around that. They really do. We interviewed 500 consumers at the open home and said, what helped you make the decision to inspect this property? Can I tell you about 498 said price guide was very important in their decision in viewing the property. So let's have a look at what is buyer work, because unless you get this right, again, forget about the auction, forget about it. All right, so open home. The open home, this is where it all happens. This is where we meet our buyers, right? Tell me, we talk about something called identification. What are they doing there? Yeah. Do you want to buy a home? Can I tell you one of the most powerful questions? Are you looking to buy a home? If I get, through one of your open homes, you get a skyrocketer of an open home and you get 21 groups through. And you ring Mr. Vendor up straight after your open home and you tell your vendor, I've had 21 groups through, which is pretty high, would be pretty high. Yeah. What are they going to start to think? Their price is going to go one way and it's going to go up. What happens if through those 21 people have been through, I've got 4 buyers? To see the dynamic shift and how I'm brought back down to earth and I'm dealing with reality, speed and quality of information straight after the open, so I'm staying on an even playing field. We've got a seller, a potential seller who lives down the road, we've got a buyer, and we've got a sticky beak. Who do we go and talk to first? You've got a potential seller in there, in your open home, they're watching you. They're watching you, right? And your chance and your opportunity is how you qualify the buyer. And they'll watch you and they'll observe you, right? Because they'll want to see how you handle your open homes. Now, can I tell you, if you're representing my biggest asset and you're trying to talk me into a listing or trying to get into my door at someone's open home, I'm going to think twice whether you're but if I see you working buyers in a professional way, I'm going to go, that's the guy I want representing mine. You're just digging deep with these sort of questions. Is this your first choice currently? Do you have your eye on anything else? What else have you seen? You know, did you make an offer on this? Are you intending to bid on that? Have you bid at auction before? We talk about the education process. Now that's a big one for you guys in your markets. Have you bid at auction before? Do you think if someone hasn't bid at auction before, they understand what they need to do? Got no idea. They need your help. They need your help. The other one I like to ask, that you can ask people is that, will you be bidding or will be someone else bidding for you? If they've organised someone else to bid, they're thinking about this pretty seriously. There's all these little moving parts and what people do, how you can read into things, and just these little things and open it up. Sellers behave according to the bidding that they see. This is really important. I was at an auction on last Saturday. It was in Redfern, and I asked for an opening bid. They didn't bid. I went, okay, no problem. So I opened it up with a vendor bid. And so I opened it up at 1.1 million. And I said, well guys, your job's to beat it now. I just removed the obstacle of the opening bid. Your chance to now beat it, I'll take you straight to the business end. One of the buyers says to me, it's not worth that. I said, good. What's it worth? They said 1,070,000. Well, I said, all you need to do is make the bid to try and change the vendor's mind. They'll respond to your bidding, but unless you bid, they can't. It was sort of like this light bulb went off. So what did I do? Retracted the vendor bid, took their bid at 1,070,000. Another one come in, 1,075,000, 80, 85, 90, 95, 1.1, sells for 1,110,000, right? But of course, 1.1 was too expensive, but it sells for 10,000 more. Sellers will respond to bidding. It's powerful, they will. If they see a market, the visual element of the auction is the most powerful element that you can have. Don't ever underestimate it. No bidding or bidding, it is powerful for a vendor. The experience a buyer has is determined by them, no one else. We're going to auction to sell, right? Now, if it's not high enough, our sellers may choose not to sell, and we're okay with that, we'll support them. But if you respond with bidding, my sellers will make a decision for you. Yeah, it's really straightforward, which ties into our next point. Auction day is really simply a negotiation platform. That's all it is, relax. It is really straightforward. We have a buyer, we have a seller. You guys make an offer in an open and transparent environment, and we'll see if we can help you buy it. Obviously, you have a third-party facilitator. Just take the mystery and the uncomfortability around it. This is a really, really simple process. Inexperienced auction buyers, they're actually reassured if they see someone else bid. When you're a first home buyer, for instance, and it's your first time bidding, it's uncomfortable. But when you someone else in, I tell you what, that ignites it. Just, these are the things that are important. Get someone else to start it when you've got a first home buyer. Think about what's important. How can I get comfortability for these guys? And I'll always ask an agent, has this buyer made an offer on another property and lost out? Have they bid at an auction and lost out? Because underbidders are generally twice as determined to secure the next time around. As an auctioneer, I want to know that. And the only way that we can uncover it is through the qualification process. The qualification and the level at which we do it and how well we dig and the level of the buyer work that we do will define the opportunities that create. You will find listings based on your qualification. All right, you will find the listings. But what will happen, can I tell you something? The better you qualify, you don't have to ask for your listings. They'll go, I want that guy representing my property. You don't have to tell them how good you are. You actually don't. And again, I love social media, but you don't have to go and tell them how good you are. They'll work that out themselves. They're pretty sophisticated and intelligent, most consumers. They'll get it. But if you want to go around and I always find people going out and saying, I sold it 150 grand over reserve. Well, guess what? They already know it. They'll decide whether you're a good agent or not. Don't have to go out and tell them. It's based on the level of your execution and the understanding of your craft and the level of your qualification. They're key. Let's dive a little bit more into the psychology of it. Why will a buyer turn up to bid? Why? Give me a reason to bid. You've got to give them, they've got to have a reason to turn up, because they won't. One, they believe it's going to be sold. So if they think it's worth 500 and they think the sellers want 600, are they going to turn up? Of course they're not. They need to believe that it's going to be sold. The second one is, obviously, they believe they can afford the seller's expectations. They need to be in that arena. And thirdly, of course, and this is all straightforward stuff, there needs to be a connection. Once you understand the process, it reduces your days on market, it helps sellers make a better decision, and what I find you become a better lister when you do more auctions. The reason you become a better lister is because you understand the market better. Because again, what listing is your ability to articulate what's going on in the market. Your ability to do that better than the next agent and be more competitive in those other areas, that's the game. And your ability to articulate a market is actually, a lot of agents find that difficult. But when you're qualifying buyers and you know the buyers and what they're doing, then you know the market. The reserve set meeting. What I want you to do right throughout your campaign, I want you to write this down. This is just such an important question that you can ask your vendor. At the end of each conversation when you've spoken with them, is there anything else that we could be doing that we're not already doing? If you think about this, absolutely perfect. You come to auction day and they've hated the ad for the last 3 weeks, but they've bottled it. Guess what's going to come out at the reserve set meeting and on auction day? But if you check in with them and you say, is there anything? Guess whose responsibility it is? It's theirs. This is about allocating responsibility. So, and again, I talked about before, be very, 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 very careful around what you say in the reserve set meeting. They will hold on to it. All right, here's what we know. This is what we know about the buyers. This has been their past behaviour. This is what we could expect. Here's where we think they'll be based on the properties that they're seeing, what they've done on other properties. We're sharing the buyer journey to help them make an intelligent decision of whereabout we feel they'll sell on the day. And then what we're going to do, we're going to pre-frame what can go wrong, right? And we're going to deal with that. We're going to be really comfortable around it. We're also going to advise a strategy that if 0 buyers turn up, this is what we're going to do. If 1 turns up, and then if multiple turn up. So they know exactly what gear you're going to go into based on what's unfolded on the day. Very, very clear. And we get an agreement. We're going to make the best decision based on the facts that we've got. Not about anything else, we're just going to deal with facts on the day. And what I like to talk about is, we talk about vendor education. If a vendor highest bid on the day is $10,000 under their reserve price, for me, this is about one thing. It's about risk management. That's right, it's not about accepting a lower offer, it's about managing their risk. If we go back to market, can you guarantee they're going to get an extra $10,000? Or could it be another $10,000 less? And they need to accept the responsibility for that risk. Because I've seen too many times on auction day where people have got, with a bit of competition, they've got to a very, very good price, which has been under, and they've said no, paid up or less. It's about risk management and about them understanding that concept. Then what you're going to do, guys, you're going to go, there you go, Mr. Auctioneer. Yeah. You're going to say, there's my buyer, my buyers, or I have no buyers. Here is the strategy. Here's where I'd like to see the bidding start to engage, because you've qualified them. You know where you'd engage them. Here's where my sellers sit. I feel we may achieve it. I feel we may not. Here's the vendor bid. If no one starts bidding, here is where I think the bidding will get to. And you, in essence, you're going to pass it over to the auctioneer and you're going to let go. All right? And then you're going to wait until the auctioneer needs oxygen. If you're below reserve, then you come into play. All right?